I'm Mandy and I'm a mathematician by training, and I have been working as a statistician at the Children's Hospital at Leipzig University since 2009. And I hold also a master's degree in spatial analysis for public health. So my expertise combines mathematical analysis and public health research.
And my name is Ronny Baber. I'm the head of the Leipzig Medical Biobank, and I'm a biochemist by training, and I started my scientific career as a PhD student in the Institute of Laboratory Medicine, so I was very focused on genetics and metabolomics and so on. And in 2011, we started with the Live Biobank.
And together with the biobank, which was established within the Leipzig Research Center for Civilization Diseases, the Live Child Study started, and the study focused on healthy child development. And until now, we recruited more than 6,000 children with more than 25,000 study visits.
And the Leipzig Medical Biobank supports the Live Child Study from the beginning, and it's always very nice to support such kind of studies, and Live Child is one of the oldest ones. And I'm personally also involved with my two children, which are also part of the Live Child Study since the beginning.
All three cohorts are not really separated from each other. We start with the birth cohorts, which consists of 5 or 6 visits during pregnancy and the first year of life. And then this period is followed by yearly follow-up visits. And from the age of 6, we, in addition, recruit children from the obesity outpatient clinics at the university hospital. These children do the same study program as the health cohort, but they come to us at the second day where we have metabolic examinations. And we also recruit children from the health cohort who also undergo this additional second examination day, so we have a control cohort. And this is integrated in the obesity focus of the university hospital. Here we see the medical interview, which comprises comprehensive health history for the child itself and also of the parents, and also the review of current medications is taken place, and the medical interview takes place right after the consent of the parents in the start of the study day.
And for smaller children, it's not always easy. They're very nervous, and it's very nice that they also have something to play for the children.
So here we see our questionnaire room. So there are several computers because the children as well as the parents have to fill many questionnaires. Sometimes it's too much for them, and it's one of the most disliked stations of the study program. These questionnaire sessions are interspersed during this day, so they don't have to fill in all the questionnaires at once, because especially for the older children, there are many questions about their habits, their eating habits, also what kind of contraceptions they use or how they feel. And for example, during COVID-19 epidemics, we also asked them what the problems they face and how they are coping with.
We are coming to the outpatient clinic on a yearly basis, so for us it's not always easy to keep in mind what we stated the year before. So I think there might be some differences between the years. But it's also interesting that for some questionnaires, the children and the parents answer the same questionnaires, and we had a scientific evaluation of that, and it was also very interesting that the children think different compared to the parents. But it's also important that for the parents, you can also fill the questionnaires at home, because you get some of them prior to the visit.
Yeah, but the children have to fill in their questionnaire in the study center, because we don't want that parents influence the answers of the children. So here a very small child is measured, the chest circumference. So we have a special anthropometry for children to the 3rd year of life. And maybe an important information is that for the older children we have yearly visits, but the babies come to us 3 times during the first year, at the 3rd month, the 6th month, and also at their first birthday or around their first birthday.
You can imagine that it's not easy to do biobanking with the children, because we also need to take into account that they are growing. So we just take 4 ml of blood with 3 months of age, and the amount of blood increases during the first year of life. And of course, also after the 1 year visit, we also have increasing blood volumes. But what also interesting is that you see the pampers of the baby. We also get stool samples, and there we scrape some of the stool samples to get them for the biobank.
Yeah, and the blood withdrawal with children so small is also challenging. So, and also for the parents, because most of the times the blood is withdrawn from the head, which is more or better for the children, but worse to see it for the parents.
So for us, it's more or less standard because we've been here 14 or 15 times. So we are here since my older son is 3 months old. So of course it's hard to see if the blood is taken from the head. But I know that it's very important to get those samples to see also the biomarkers and how they evolve in the blood. And so I know that it is important, and I also try to give this to my children, or to tell it to my children that it's very important that we get the blood, or that we get the urine, or that we get the milk teeth. But of course, what I always try is to make this a nice day. Then we go for driving go-kart or climbing or something like that. So there's always an advantage for my children if we go here.
And this is not the only advantage. Every child gets a treasure map at the start of the day, and then when you go through the stations, you get stamps, and at the end of the study day, there is a treasure chest, and you can choose some presents from the treasure chest. The children have also the possibility to take a break in the playroom, and we have also, after the blood withdrawal, because the children come fasting, they get a breakfast with all the unhealthy stuff they aren't allowed to eat at home.
but of course there is also healthy stuff.
So here the child's height is measured, as it is done from the 3rd year of life. So before, it's measured with the lying children, and here we see the child is standing, and study assistant measures the standing height. So it's just one of many anthropometric measures. Of course, we also weigh the children and measure the arm length or the leg circumference. This is also done every year, so we can follow the growth of the children.
And that's also interesting for the parents, of course, because usually you don't go to a physician to do this. And that's why it's pretty cool to get those data of the children.
Yeah, here we see how careful the child is positioned to get the height correctly. So the child has to have the correct head position, and it has to be standing really upright without bent knees or standing on toes.
And the same thing is also done for the parents. So there we also see our height. They see it as a kind of checkup. It's for children, but also for the adults. When they go to such a kind of study, they always think it's a kind of checkup. They get biomarkers checked. They get height and weight checked. They get blood pressure checked. So for the parents, it's a cool thing to see also how their children develop, how they are growing, and to get some numbers about that.
This is one of our special examinations. This is the eye examination. And we do it together with Zeiss, industry partner, and also the University of Tübingen. And different measures of the eye are taken, as well as measures to measure the eyesight and problems with the eyesight. And we have several projects on myopia or the growth of the eye.
And this is also done for the parents, so you can see how your eyes develop also if you are older.
Here we measure the basal rate. In Leipzig, we have a big focus on metabolism and obesity, and therefore the basal rate is a very important measure for us to look how the metabolism works in children. We compare normal weight children with our special cohort of children with obesity to look if the metabolism differs between the two groups.
And of course, it's also important to measure metabolites. So metabolomics is also a big topic for us. And we know that the sample quality of our samples, which are biobanked, is high enough or good enough so that you can use it also for metabolomics.
So this is also one of our anthropometric measures, the head circumference. It's also more challenging than it seems, because the correct points for measurement are very hard to find. So it's an examination or a measure where you have to be trained carefully, because otherwise you don't get correct measures if you don't get points at the head correctly.
And that's pretty comparable to what we're doing in biobanking. So there are SOPs, the people are trained. What's needed everywhere also in such a study where you have so many measures?
This is the skin fold measurement. We take skin fold measures at different positions of the body. So for example, as we see here, above the hip bone, but also at the upper arm. And it looks like it hurts, but it does not hurt at all. So it's called a caliper, and it's done in many studies across the world. And the measure is used to estimate the fat mass of children. So we can estimate the body fat status of the children, which is a very important measure for metabolic health.
And also DIA measures are done to measure the fat mass, and I think this is a good add-on here.
Here we see a child which is going through a developmental test. These kind of tests are taken at a separate visit day, because we want the children to be fresh and not disturbed because of the blood withdrawal or something like this. So, and we take these tests from the 6th month of life until the 6th year, and it's done by psychologists, and so we can follow the psychological and cognitive development, and also the language development is tested of the children through the first years of life.
And for the children, it's more or less like playing with the interviewer. It's really nice for them.
This is one of the favorite tests of the children, or at least they stated so in the evaluation forms. It's the motoric test, and it consists of several subtests. And here we see a child doing the jumping as wide as possible from a standing position.
And for my kids, it's like competition.
This is another part of the motoric test. Is here we measure flexibility. So the child is bending forward as deep as it's possible, and we measure how flexible the child's back muscles or of the upper legs, how flexible these muscles are. And a third part of our motoric test is balancing. So here we see one of the balance bars. We have 3 with different width, and If everything goes well, the child goes backwards. So here it looks like the child is going forward, but it's just before the final step. So the child is going backwards on these balancing bars.
And for the children, it's also a nice thing because they are not just competing with each other, they are also competing with other children from Life Child because they can gain medals.
We measure the blood pressure of the children, so they have to lie there at least 5 minutes before we start because we want them to be still and motion or movement does not influence the measurement values. We measure the blood pressure, the systolic blood pressure, the diastolic blood pressure, as well as the heart rate 3 times. And it's a nice part that you can lie down at once during the study day.
And this is also done for the parents, so it's also important for us to know our blood pressure after that and if it's still within the ranges.
So, and here we see the blood withdrawal for children. So every child who visits us will be asked to give us blood as well as urine. We also collect teeth and hairs, for example. And this is one of the most valuable things we have. We determine a wide range of laboratory measures immediately, and the other part of the blood is frozen within our biobank.
I would say from the age of 5 or 6, they understand what happened there. Of course, they say, "Oh, I don't want to have this blood withdrawal. It's not that nice." But then I try to convince them. I don't know how it is for other parents because for me it's important to get the blood. But of course they are not forced to give blood. Yeah, and the people here in the outpatient clinic are very patient with the children. They know what to do. They know how to talk to them. So I think it's also a very nice surrounding here and very convincing. I also do guided tours for school classes, also for school classes with young ages, for first class and so on. And then I just explain it to them why we need it, and I tell them that it's very important to know when children are sick, and that this is usually done with blood and so on. So it's not as complicated as you might think.
And from the age of 5, we have evaluation forms also for the children. So until the age of 10, it's taken as interview, and afterwards they answer the questionnaire for themselves. And if you read there, we have also free text answers there, and they are very proud after the blood withdrawals. Some children wrote they thought it would be much worse, and now they are so proud that they have provided blood. Of course, we do not only ask the children why they come to us, how they like it, we also ask the parents. And in the answers we see this checkup idea is a very important point, but we also read more often that this idea to help research and developments to support child health and also diagnosing of disease and helping health research in general is a very important point for many of the parents. So, and we have a convenience sample, so many of our parents are very interested in health and of course in their children's development.
Yeah, and we also have breast milk or other interesting things. We also isolated peripheral blood mononuclear cells for some years. So, and as Mandy said, it's really valuable to have that, and also to see how the biomarkers differentiate between the single time points and how they develop.
What it makes so valuable is that blood samples from healthy children are very rarely taken in studies, and we use these blood and also urine to determine reference limits for laboratory values in children across the age from 3 months to 18 years. And so we can provide the information of normal values for children from really healthy children.
And that's something that's really missing in laboratory medicine, because usually this is done with samples from hospitalized children. And if they are hospitalized, of course, they are sick. So it's far away from being healthy. And that's why it's so important to have such kind of studies with high numbers of children with different age ranges.
So especially the biobank in our sample collection made many cooperations possible with industry as well, for example, with the Federal Institute for Risk Assessment in Berlin, because they also use our samples to determine, for example, the consequences of PFAS.
PFAS was in the media, and they asked us if we have samples where they can measure PFAS, and I think that there's a quite good collaboration now with them.
Yeah, because they want to look if PFAS hinders the immunity after vaccination. So we gave them samples where we know this is a sample before the child got vaccinated and then after it gets vaccinated, and then they look how the antibodies developed dependent on the PFAS in the blood.
This is also a very nice story where it shows that the visibility of biobanks can help other studies, because we had a project with this institution on another topic, and I showed them what we are doing in the biobank, and then they saw, you have lots of children, and they made a comparable study with another child study, but the number of children was much less than what we can offer with the Life Child study.
As we said, this is really important to know which measures define a healthy child development, so we can identify abnormal values more easily. And the other way around, we have to know if during some periods of child development that laboratory values can be very, very different, and it's not a sign of a disease, but a sign of normal development. So this is really important. And moreover, we have a focus on the influence of lifestyle choices on child health and lifestyle-related disease. So we look into how media use influences the well-being of children. We also look how nutrition and nutrition behavior influences children's well-being and health. And it's really important to examine such questions in a large group of healthy children, so we can identify risk factors as well as resilience factors, which factors can help to keep our children healthy.
And for a long time, adults behaved like children need to be treated as small adults, and we all know that this is wrong. But this is changing now, but I think we need lots of more data, and it's good to have a study like this to know more about children and how they develop, how they behave, and I think this is very important.
Yeah, in addition, we hope to examine the children as well when they will be young adults and also older adults, so we can link risk factors during childhood to health outcomes later on.